Welcome to the Love and Growth Podcast. This is our third episode, and today we're going to talk about non-negotiables. What are they? Why are they important? And how do you use them?
Yeah.
I think first things first. I know we were talking earlier about it, but the fact that there are multiple types of non-negotiables. But I think first and foremost, where we should start is like, what is non-negotiable?
So I would say there's at least two different types, or two different that we will talk about today, which the first is being like when we started dating, I had a non-negotiable, and that is if you physically cheat on me, that's it. We're done. That's a non-negotiable. It's something that I will not forgive. That's something I will not work around. But then there's also a non-negotiable, like now we have our date nights.
Yeah, and I think let's start back at the beginning with it. And non-negotiable means like there's no negotiation. I think that's it should go without saying, but the idea is we call things in life non-negotiables, but at the end of the day, we also find reasons not to do things. Well, date night's a non-negotiable, but I'm super tired today. We're low on money. We can't do like instead of finding a way to make things happen, at that point you're negotiating not only with yourself, but what you believe.
Right.
So I think the idea of a non-negotiable is like this is how it's going to be: rain, sleet, snow, depending on where you are in the country. Like this has to happen.
Yeah.
So I think just kind of getting that out in the getting out in the world first and realizing that non-negotiables are really the aspect of this has to be done regardless, and bringing that into it. And I think that's where non-negotiables become a real big trust exercise. Because if you're so quick to push off or change or find a reason not to do something, if it's considered a non-negotiable, why would you work that hard not to have it?
Yeah. And I believe that that's been something that has played a big part in our relationship after we had our big mishap, our big
No, I fucked up. I mean, really, like, let's be realistic. I mean, I think that at the end of the day, we're all about honesty and truth. I went out and I emotionally had an affair. I think I stepped out and did that in a time where I was confused and lost and didn't know what I was doing. I mean, we weren't good at home, and the whole thing just kind of came to a home when, I couldn't hold up my end as a man as being the person I should have been for you. So I went out and did something like that, which became the start of us actually getting on this path.
Yeah.
It took me doing that and almost throwing everything away where I realized, I have to get my shit together. Not only just for you, but for me. Like I was living terrible. Secret phone here, this, that, over here, like having conversations with people I shouldn't have. Like that whole 9 yards was just so incredibly terrible that for me that created a level of animosity for me, like just within myself, that I never wanted to go back there again.
Yeah. I don't ever want to go back there again.
Yeah.
I'm getting teary eyed now just from the, just the feelings that it had. And
yeah.
I mean, that was our rock bottom. That was our rock bottom in our relationship. And that's why in the beginning of the video, I specified physically cheat on me.
Yeah.
Because, we did go through the emotional affair and we did come out the other side. That was something that through time and work, a lot of hard work, that we did come out on the other side.
Yep.
And that's also where, non-negotiables play a part, because at that point, all trust was broken. It was, we sat down and we said, okay, well, yes, we want to be together. So how do we make this work when the trust was broken? Like you said, you had phones that you kept secret. You had things that like everything was under lock and key. And so it really started, I think, with you having to be open and transparent. And that was really hard for you in the beginning.
Terrible. It wasn't even just that. It was terrible because I played a character. In my life, I was playing a character. I was one person at home, I was one person at work, I was one person here, one person there. So I was never really connected to me, which in turn meant I was never really connected to you. I mean, I was connected to you. Like that sounds terrible. Like you're just there, but I wasn't living truthfully and honestly enough to myself that I could do that with anybody else. So the easiest thing for me to do was to just we compartmentalize this, we hide that, then it's I'm never truly in it until the world kept crashing down, and I just went, I don't want to lose this. Like I don't want to lose you. I don't want to lose the family. I don't want to lose where we were going. And that's when everything crumbled down in me that I said, I had to make a commitment to yes, I had to make a commitment to you. I had to make a commitment to me to not be that way. And I think that was so difficult as as me. And I hate to say as a man because every man is different. But at the end of the day, being honest with yourself and saying like, this is who I am, this is I'm gonna be, this is where I'm going, and to open up myself to say like, you fucked up bad. Are you willing to do what it takes to fix it? And that's where the non-negotiable started because I dove into my first coaching program and I was like, I'm in. But that non-negotiable could have taken such a bad turn if I didn't go all in. If I found an excuse not to do one thing and I found another excuse, it would have steamrolled out of control.
Right. And that's where the non-negotiable comes in because you at that point have to build back trust. And so it's if I say I'm going to do this, then this has to happen no matter what. Come hell or high water, like date night is date night and that's happening.
Right.
And having that, I think, did start to repair us.
Yeah.
Because it did, okay, I can believe you, I can have faith in you that come Tuesday night, like we're going out. Right. And that was something that you stuck to.
Yeah.
And then, the other thing was we can leave phones laying around now. We don't have extra hidden phones or anything like that. So just being completely open, transparent, and setting those boundaries and sticking to your non-negotiables and just following your word.
Right. Yeah. And I like the term boundaries to an extent, but at the end of the day, it's almost eliminating the need for that boundary. Like I don't need a boundary for you to have to look at my phone. I don't need to be like, well, what are you doing? Why do you need to see that? What do you need to do this? Now it's just like, go look, like whatever. Can you grab my phone? Can you look for this? Can you tell me this? Like, you know, it's to the point now where doing the work consistently has not only built back trust for you, I think it's built back trust for me. Like I believe that I can do it. Yeah. I believe it's hard. I believe that it takes work. And I believe that in society today, it's so easy to fuck around and to get in trouble and to do stupid shit. It's basically thrown at us all the time. So to actually take a stand for a non-negotiable for the other person and to open yourself up to be like, I screwed up so bad and I'm doing this from now on. Like you have all of this all the time. Are there pitfalls? Yes, but it never goes against any of the non-negotiables.
Right, and that's the non-negotiable is okay, well, you can't hide things. You can't be sneaky. You can't have another phone. And it sounds like those are terrible things to say, like you can't do this or like I'm a boss, but it was more so like if we're going to rebuild this honesty, then this has to be the way that we do it. And yep. It's non-negotiable. Like this is how we're going to move forward.
Right.
And we have to be on the same page with that. And if this is what we're agreeing on, then this is what has to happen.
Yeah, and I think we each came up, even like all those types of things, they don't even need to be non-negotiables anymore. They're just right. Like that's just how we operate.
Now it's just there.
Yeah. Like that's how we operate. At first it was like, in order to build my trust, here's my non-negotiables, X, Y, and Z. And then it just becomes a habit. Then this is what happens. This is how we live. And then that starts to permeate through everything else. But I think now transitioning from the negative to the positive, the way that the non-negotiables in our life have really like structured everything has taken us to the next level. Because now non-negotiables for us is like, we're going to communicate.
Yeah.
We're going out. I mean, of course, we have date nights. We have family day. Like these types of things are non-negotiables. Now family day might not always be the most exciting thing. Sometimes, we're just going to walk around. Sometimes we're going to go somewhere. Sometimes we're going to do this. But at the end of the day, even if it's for the shortest amount of time, to dedicate that time to family, date night, it is like no other people, no friends, no relative, like
No
no
phones.
phones. Put the damn thing down. Like don't be involved with it. Like you actually communicate and connect. And then board
Yeah.
meetings.
And I think that date night actually plays a really big role in us healing.
Yeah.
Because I think the emotional affair came out of us not connecting.
We weren't.
And date night makes it so that once a week, every week, we prioritize us. We make sure that we're communicating. We're making sure that we're staying connected and making sure that we're just with each other, just being with each other.
I think that's a big statement too with that. Thinking about that, it's like we weren't connected. There's so many times where, I mean, I take the brunt of the blame. Like I did that. I was screwing around. I was doing all that kind of stuff. I was just living the life. I was at the time training professional athletes, like living the lifestyle. I was just absolutely asinine. But the fact of the matter is, and so many people will just blame one side where we weren't connected on either end. And it's me, it's you, it's everything. It's the scenario. It's how we were living. Like we weren't connected. So not to give it justification of any else, only thing it is like we share the blame with it, regardless of how deep it goes. One person, we're not going to say it's a 50-50 thing. I would never say that it's 50% your fault. Like I did all the stuff and that was my mess ups.
Right.
But
I didn't do anything either to try to fix that. I let it get me more distant from you. I let the disconnect just keep going. I didn't do anything to try to repair. Why are you going to this person instead of coming to me?
Yeah.
At that point, I wasn't thinking of it like that. So I didn't do anything to fix that side.
That's normal though. I mean, it's not helpful, but it's understandable why you would go that route. I mean, I hurt you. I went that way. Like it turned that way. And I think the idea though, what turned us around is we both want this.
Mm-hmm.
And if we both want this, what is the next step? The next step is we need to dedicate everything to this. So if we're dedicating everything to this, what does it need? What do we need to show up as for each other? And I think looking at it that way and saying, okay, there's no reason for me to go with anybody else, regardless of how stupid I could be, because I have her. She talks to me. She wants me. She's around me. She just wants to be near me. And I think that's something to look at it from a guy's perspective. And if you've read any books about guys' perspectives, like some of the biggest things you can do is like just physically like want to be around, the touch, the talk, like all that kind of stuff is in there. There's some other vulgar terms that could be used in there, but we'll stay away from it for now. I think we did enough cursing on the last episode. If you missed that one, go check that out. But the fact of the matter is that set the stage for the next level of us, the next version of us. And I think what happened was you made what was non-negotiables for you, for me, in the beginning. I need this, I need this, I need this. Perfect. It was clear, it was concise, like there's no budging, there's no gray area. Perfect. I made the non-negotiables not for you because I didn't need them specifically for you. There were a couple that were just like, I just need you to just help, like work with me. Like I'm going to do this, like just see me through this. But the non-negotiables came on my end that was like, I'm going to do the work. I'm going to tell the truth. I'm going to be open. I'm going to get vulnerable. I'm going to do all the work that is prescribed to me to do. And I'm going to take the beatings that I deserve at this point in time. Yeah. And once I got to that point where I was like, I deserve this part. And then once it got to a point where it was like, I was doing the work, I was showing progress, and you were starting to ease off of the negativity of the whole situation.
And the overbearing, I think, because I think it was like a constant, like I'm over your shoulder, like I'm looking over your shoulder.
Yeah.
to see what it is. Like, what are you doing? Are you being sneaky? Are you following through with what you have to do?
Right.
Are you doing X, Y, and Z? And that was unhealthy too.
Yeah. Yeah. Looking back on it, it was unhealthy. But I think at that point in time, we didn't know any different. We had no groundwork to get through this. There was no like we weren't reading books on how to get through this. Like we had to do the work ourselves. So we went through that growing process, and I think, and again, I said I deserved most of it. Like you had every right to not trust me, and honestly, I had every right not to trust me either, because I wasn't holding up my end. So the non-negotiables then became do the work, so that every day I could look at those boxes. Did I check those boxes every fucking day? And if I did, awesome. And I think little by little, my non-negotiables and your non-negotiables started to align to create our lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And then once that became our lifestyle, then the non-negotiables had to take another level.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had to be, okay, what is our relationship going to be? What needs to be happening daily, weekly, monthly? Like, what do we need to do? What do we look like in that situation? And then the non-negotiables had to take that. And I think that was the next generation of it for us, where we never could, we weren't completely out of the woods of what happened, but we knew that staying in that same place was never going to get to the next place.
Yeah, we had to. If we stayed there, we wouldn't have stayed together.
No, not at all.
And there were, I mean, because there were certain things where I just couldn't go through it anymore. I just couldn't feel that way anymore. I couldn't do it anymore.
Yep.
And then, on top of that, on top of the actual feeling of it, and then the feeling like I have to watch your every move because I didn't trust you. It's not the way I wanted to live my life.
Or should have to.
And I mean, thankfully, you did go into a coaching program and you did get your ass shoot out, which you deserve.
100%.
I still don't like you getting your ass shoot out.
Yeah. Some of us need a little bit more than others. Let's be realistic.
But I think it was one of the best things that you did for us and for you. And
yeah, I needed to do it for us. But at the end of the day, like I needed to realize that I wasn't functioning the way I needed to. I wasn't broken. I wasn't like too often we throw around the terms as men, like, oh, I'm broken, I'm this, I'm that. I wasn't broken. I just wasn't understanding what I was supposed to be
yeah, and again, like I think, I mean, first and foremost, we're saying emotional affair. So what is that?
Yeah, I mean, it was having conversations that you should have that having conversations with somebody where it should have been reserved for the person that you're with. Having that connection and that idea of being able to go back and forth with a person that isn't your partner. And I think that's in a broad nutshell what that is.
And for a long time, I think you were so guilty about it that we couldn't even really talk about it.
Yep.
That was one of those things that you were like, nope, not gonna talk about it. And that was one of the things where I'm like, I really do need to talk about it because I need to understand for me.
Yeah.
And so that's where like a non-negotiable can be negative because you're like, nope, not talking about it. That's non-negotiable. I am not going to discuss it. You're not going to get it out of me. Like I said what I said. I did what I did. I admitted it. Not going over details, non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, I need that. I need all the details. So that's where kind of both of our non-negotiables were not lining up because I was like, I need the emotional side of it. Like everything that you've withheld from me, I need that. And that's how I'm going to move forward. Right. Where you're just like, no, I fucked up. That's it. I admitted it. Let's go. Yeah. And that's where I think down the road, you kind of realize where I was coming from. because things would keep triggering it and it would keep coming back up and you'd be like,
Right.
why are we here again? Like, what the fuck? And I'm like, because you never gave me closure.
Yeah.
You never actually came and said this, and we really didn't have that conversation until recently.
Yeah. And I think it's a lot of it was because I was so lost in my own head that I really didn't have a clear answer.
Yeah, but I also think we had to get to where we are.
I think we had to get a level of
We
trust
had to
between us to
grow.
have that. Yeah. Yep.
We had to grow to that place where we could be vulnerable
Yep.
and open and raw and honest and
receptive.
have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you had to know that you also had to know that you were safe from me throwing it back in your face.
Right.
So again, like not saying like a relationship is two people. So if there's an issue in a relationship, like yes, he is the one that fucked up, but I also have to own my shit.
Yep.
And that's not easy.
No, and it's not easy for either person because knowing that I'm the one that fucked up, the other thing that I carry is realizing how much hurt and pain that you cause. Like if you actually have genuine remorse and feel bad and things like that, like you should feel bad. Like somebody that can do something really screwed up and not feel bad about it, like there's a problem. And that hurts so much from my end of it that I know that it caused you pain. And in the flip side, I was feeling pain too because I'm like, how could I let it get that far? How could I go that far? How can I let things slip? And as a man, like, why couldn't I control my own mind to do things?
Yeah. I will say that's something that's really hard for you. You do not like to see me in pain.
Never.
You don't like to see me hurt. You don't. And when we decided we were going to heal, you know, that was another thing that came up, that it was like, are we going to fix it or not going to fix it? If we're going to fix it, then it's not negotiable. Like we're going in. Yeah. And when we chose that, there were a lot of nights of me crying and you holding me and you crying because I'm crying and because of all the hurt and the pain that we had to go through.
Yeah. I mean, I had a lot of negative thoughts about myself. I went into a real dark place after that. After we decided to come back together, I went into a super negative place because I had so much regret and so much remorse. And to see you hurt was just, I mean, it was a lot. Like it was a lot to handle because it's like, oh, it was almost, I was finally looking at things clearly. I was finally looking at things not just in the moment, but being able to visualize and have clarity of like, this is what I'm losing. Why would I do this? And not having a clear understanding or idea or realizing what it is. I mean, psychologists can have a field day all you want, but at the end of the day, like I wasn't in a place to understand. I wasn't connected to somebody enough to understand. And then when I threw myself into the work of what I needed to do to say, like, I'm getting raw, I'm getting vulnerable, I'm connecting with who I am, I'm getting down to my roots, I'm setting non-negotiables, I'm setting boundaries, I'm telling the truth, I'm not lying. Like from now on, this is how we operate. And when I flipped the switch like that and was consistent with it, and I would say like 6 months consistent with it just to get the start of the ball rolling, like then we could start to move. Because it was like it only took one slip up and we were back down the rabbit hole quickly.
Yeah, I would say even now, like knowing how good we are and how good our communication is and how vulnerable we are with each other and how much we do trust each other now, there's still, if you tell me something and you don't follow through, even if it's like the tiniest thing, I still I still get affected by that.
Yep.
I still get like, oh, well maybe he's not really. And it's not something that you're doing intentionally. It's
Right.
not something that that you're like purposefully just trying to not stick to your word. It's just, it could be the chaos of the day.
Right.
Right. But it still is like, hey, you said you were going to do this and you didn't do this. And that still gives like a little tug.
That was tonight for me. And that's why we're in the middle of doing 75 hard. I was, it's late. It's later than we would want to be. I had to go out and do my second workout outside. It was raining. We have to get to the store. We had to do X, Y, whatever we had to do. But one of our goals was we were shooting this podcast. We set the schedule. Like it was easy for me to be like, okay, we'll just shoot it tomorrow. And then halfway through the walk, I'm 30, 35 minutes deep into it. And I'm like, we're shooting tonight. Like, this is our scheduled night. This is what we're doing. This is what we have to do. Like, and I think even though you were okay not doing it, I understand why. I think for me, I needed to be like, this is the honest truth is I need to do this tonight. It's if I'm trying to make an excuse not to do it tonight, then I have to turn around and do it tonight. Like I'm not going to talk myself out of it for an easier thing when we have it on schedule.
Yeah.
Like, why do I have to uproot my life because I want to just make something a little bit easier? Oh, we'll just shoot it tomorrow. The fuck that, because that's one of the non-negotiables. We're sticking to our routine. This is our routine.
Yeah.
Date night Tuesday, board meeting Thursday, shooting podcast on Friday, family day on Saturday. Whatever the schedule looks like for you, or whatever it looks like for anybody, like that's what it is. Yeah. If you have to make excuses for why something's not getting done, there's a problem. If I have things at work that I'm not doing, why am I not doing? Why am I not doing this? Why am I not setting that? Like, there's a problem. And I think too often we take the easiest road possible because it's easy.
Yeah. And another example of that is 75 hard, right? We committed to do that together. And the one day we had an issue with the phones and we had to go get new phones. We had to switch carriers and it was literally from 9:30 in the morning till 4 o'clock. And we were like, how are we going to get 2 workouts in, the baby to bed, everybody fed? Like, how are we going to do this?
Have a way to have phones working, get the workouts in, get the food.
And we were really like, well, it would be easier not, to do 75 hard and we could just restart. But we made the commitment to do it. It then became a non-negotiable. Yeah. So we stayed up super late that night so that we could get everything done because that was important to us.
Yeah.
We don't get into this stuff to just take the easy way out.
Just taking the easy way out has gotten us to where we have been and the fuck ups that we had. And if we continue to take the easy way out, we'll never actually achieve what we want to achieve. Because your success isn't at the end isn't in the easy section. It's just beyond that. It's that next step. It's that next push. It's that one more of doing it. I know Ed Milet is talking really big about one more at this current time. Not sure when you're listening to this, but the idea is you just take one more. Whatever you're doing, it's just one more. So it's like, okay, yes, we could have very easily taken that night off and just scratched it and start the next day. Or we could stay up one more hour to get it done. Right. Or we could take one more workout, or drink one more cup of water, or read one more page. And that one more step, just in the smallest detail, makes you question everything else that you're doing. That was tonight. That was the shooting tonight. It was like, I'm already outside, soaking wet. It decided to rain out of nowhere. Like, I'm getting bored on, thunderstorming. Let's just shoot. It's easy for us to go to the next day, but we shouldn't. But that's where the non-negotiable ideas live, in that part where it's easy to do, easy to make an excuse not to, but you do it anyway. And I think that's where we need to be honest with ourselves in how do we want to live our lives? How do you want to be with yourselves? So looking at non-negotiables, and I think to kind of put it to wrap it up, it's like looking at it, it's like you have to have non-negotiables with each other. Your relationship, your family, you have to have non-negotiables about how you guys function together. But I think what really separates those and somebody to the next level is each person has to have their own non-negotiables for themselves. Because I will not tolerate X, Y, and Z. You will not tolerate, or you will only tolerate X, Y, and Z. Like, this is how this has to be. If this happens, I'm out. If this happens, I'm in. If this, those clear cut non negotiables for each other is big because now it's like there's a clear blueprint to how we can be successful together. Not only as a couple, but you as your part in the relationship, me as my part in the relationship, and then the non-negotiables trickle down to what do we expect from the kids?
Yeah, because it becomes a lifestyle, and then you want your children to watch you. You want them to learn from you and mimic you, right? Because that's who else is going to teach them. So be the example and set the non-negotiables and have them understand. And that's what we do with our 18-year-old, 3-year-old starting to learn them just because we have them. But more so the 18-year-old, like he knows, oh, it's Saturday, it's family day. Like I can't make plans with friends because I am having an unplugged day with my family. And he leads by that. And he even, he'll go to church and he'll say, my parents have non-negotiables. And it's like, what? So he preaches about them. And even when you don't think that you're reaching them or that they're paying attention, they are.
Absolutely.
So lead, be the person you want your children to be. Show them a model relationship so they know what to expect from theirs.
Yeah, and I mean we're nowhere near perfect.
No.
But I think the idea that we're putting out there is you don't have to be perfect, but you have to work.
You have to work and you have to love.
You have to love. The idea of just doing the work, loving each other wholeheartedly, like being you have to be all into this. Like you have to be all in for yourself or each other, like the best of what you can bring to this world.
Yeah. And I think when we decided to go all in with each other is when we started to see massive changes and massive growth.
Yeah, everything expands from there.
Yeah.
And I think it's the idea is now you be kind of that break in generations. You know, so often you do things because that's how it's always been done. But what if you don't want that? Right. What if you look at it and you see something different? I want something different. Well, how do I get there? Create the action, create the non-negotiable, and do it. And that's first and foremost. The first non-negotiable needs to be tell the truth. Stop lying. Tell the truth. The next one needs to be you have to be willing to do the work. Through that, the whole underlying tone is like you have to love and hold grace and space for the other
stay
person.
Committed.
Stay committed to it.
You can't make a non-negotiable and then not stay committed to it.
No. As soon as you break that, you break everything. And they're fragile. The whole thing's fragile. The whole glass house is just kind of sitting there. But it's such a fun ride when you do create that clear pattern that it actually makes life easier and more fun. Like you would think that setting more structure would make it so rigid, but it allows you so much grace to do other things.
Right. And not that it's rigid, but it also allows for that dedicated time. So, like we can get excited for Tuesday because that's going to be game night. Yep. Like, so you get excited, that it's going to happen and you love that. You love that you're going to get time, you're going to go out together.
Right.
And then, same for the kids. Like, they can get excited. They know that we have fun on Saturday. So it's like, hey, we're going to go have fun now. What are we doing today?
Yeah, the babies are like, we're going to go do something fun.
Yeah.
And I think that's hysterical. And I think, at 3 years old at this current time, it's like, she already knows, like, oh, it's Saturday. Daddy puts me to bed these nights. Saturday we do this. Like, she knows all these things because this is how we operate. Right. And you can call it routine. I hate when people label it as a routine. It's not a routine. Like routines can change. Non-negotiables don't change.
Right.
Like, so, I think we veered a lot of different directions with it. And
I think there was a lot to cover with it, and then we kind of had to tell our story to be able to make sense out of where they came from and why we have them.
right. And I want to go back to that a little bit and say, like, I love you so much for just being there through that and allowing me to grow and to actually grow into what you deserve and allowing us to be where we need to go. And I think the dedication that you had for that just shows through to everything. And I think, you know, what I want people to realize, beyond the love and the the honor I have for her, it's anybody can do this if you're willing to put yourself out there, you're willing to tell the truth, you're willing to live without telling lies, but you're all into what you do. And I think and I think for us, we went through such a struggle, we went through such a hard time, and I think coming out on the other side not only gives me hope for us and knowing what we've able to accomplish and move forward from, but I know other people can do it too. And not letting people just stagnate in complacency, and to actually have the hope and the trust in themselves to be willing to take that next step is something that I know for myself, and I'm sure I don't speak for myself, that I want people to take. And I want people to own it. Like, if you fucked up, you fucked up. If the other person's still there and they're willing to move forward, like, show them why you're willing to move forward. Be that person that they're looking for you, and then be that person for yourself. Set standards and non negotiables, not only for you, but for each other and for your family, and then fucking go get it. Like, either you're all in or just get the fuck
Yeah. Yeah. And I love you too. Sorry it took me so long to respond to that. Those of you on Spotify are not watching. I'm crying a little bit. um, we've just come a very, very long way since those days. And
yeah.
I'm glad I stuck it out with
Yeah, you're fucking crazy.
you. I know.
No, seriously, it could have been very easily just done. But I think the dedication that you had for us, dedication I had for us, and something deep inside of us that we were willing to say, like, we want this. We don't know where this is going, but I think probably I'd say 2 months, not 2 months, 2 years into the journey. Sounds like such a long time, but in the grand scheme of what we get, like 2 years into that growth journey for the two of us, like, we started to see new versions of ourselves that we couldn't even imagine if we didn't go through that. I'm not saying fucking go through that, but if it does, the other side is in fucking incredible.
The other side is beautiful.
It's incredible, but you have to be willing to do it, and you
Yeah.
have to hold yourself accountable. You have to commit to each other. You have to commit to yourself, like, and then everything after that is non-negotiable. You just go, be all in, be honest, be open, be transparent, stop fucking lying, love. Like, we don't get tomorrow. Like, we're gonna have fights. You're gonna angry. You're gonna do this. You're gonna do that. But if you wake up next to that person, like, fucking love them. And I think that's a big thing for us. And love for us is non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Fighting.
I might not always like you. I don't always have to like you, but I always love you.
I always love you, and I think that's no truer statement than where we're at sometimes. Because there's a lot of times I don't like me either. But it's for everybody out there. Like, we appreciate you being here with us. I appreciate you listening to our story. And if you connect with it, awesome. Just know that we're here to help in any way, shape, or form that we can, because we've seen some dark sides, we've seen some light sides. Not saying that we've seen it all, but the way that we live, we just want to add some sort of essence of hope and some sort of foundation that take a piece of it and use it, whatever it is. If you connect with it, use it.
Yeah, I mean, we've been through some shit. We've come out of some shit. So,
And we're
if
working on
there's
big shit.
anything, yeah, and we're continuing to work because let's face it, that work is never done in a relationship.
No, and it never should be. Never should be. You should be always looking for the next step in what you guys could become. Because I know that the person I was 5 years ago would never imagine the person I am now. And if that's the case, the person 5 years from now, like, it's going to be incredible to me. They'll be a totally different person. We'll be totally different people. We'll have a totally different relationship. Family will be different. It's going to be incredible. And it's going to be a great ride. And we hope you guys come along with us for it. Anything that we've missed that you want to add to it?
So,
No, we covered a lot.
just shout out to Anna Scott Travis for the board meeting.
Anna Scott Travis dropped us with the board meetings. Like we use those religiously. So thank you guys for that information, those ideas. If you don't know who they are, check them out. They're awesome.
We'll cover all the details of board meetings in another episode.
Yeah, that'll be a totally different area. But for this one, non-negotiables for you, for yourselves, for your relationship, for your family. Set them, stick by them, do the fucking work.
Be consistent.
Be consistent and be all in.
Stay committed.
Yeah. So thank you for being with us through this episode. If you're checking us out on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe. You want to hit the bell to get notifications when we put them out. Right now, we're putting out videos every Tuesday. But follow us on social media on Instagram, on Love and Growth Podcast. Check us out on there. Leave us some information. And if you have any topics that you want to hear or find more about, let us know. We want your feedback. We want to make sure that those of you that are listening and checking this out, like, we're really connected and we're delivering some stuff for you because we really just want to see everybody win. If you know somebody that might like the show, please share it with them. See, we're sharing this organically, so we would love anybody that we can help. Hit them up with that. So, like, share, comment. Let's.
If you have anything specific you want us to cover, just DM me on Instagram, Love and Growth Podcast.
Love and Growth Podcast.
It'll go right to me.
We do. This is us. So we appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for sticking with us through this one. I hope this helps. I hope you have a blessed day, and I can't wait to see you win. I love you.
Me too.
See you guys later.
Thanks.